Black men have, progressed, have done some things, have done some positive things. But why do you feel it needs to be new?
Well, because I think that what we've been successful at is like, individually great achievements, that like individuals have rised up and been able to like assimilate themselves into the dominant society. But the majority of us, anywhere you look, whether it's in North America, the Caribbean, and the continent, South America, the conditions are not good, and the conditions are generally not changing. And it doesn't necessarily seem like there's a strong enough current or movement that can kind of, they say raise all the sails or raise all the boats. So it seems like the strategy for now is just kind of like, save yourself, Black man.
Okay.
Right.
So let me interject here real quick. So you're saying like, so it's that stereotypical argument that, oh, look at Jay-Z, look at Mayweather. What comes to mind right now is Puff Daddy in his feature with Waka Flocka saying, got my billions up messing with these white folk. Now I don't give a F because I'm richer than them white folk, So it's kind of like, okay, like he's giving us the formula, if you will, right? He's telling us, hey, learn how white people make it, how white people got out of it, or what white people do to make their millions, their billions, and then you can do the same and you can thrive. So is that what you're talking about? Like it needs to change, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, because I think that works for the dominant society because they're already in a position where there's no necessity to necessarily raise them up as a group, right? So they can think as individuals, because they've already been lifted as a group.
So is there too much individualism in progress? Is the old Black man, if you will, have too much of an individualism mindset that, hey, this is how I did it, so do it my way?
It's a little that, but it's a little bit more like I think that some of like what the dominant society actually did to raise themselves up when they were in their worst of conditions is not what is recommended for us to do. So I feel like we're neglecting all of the tools and all of the methodology that can actually raise us up. Right? Okay. So it's like
and when you say raise us up, you're talking about men?
I'm talking about Black folks everywhere, not just men. I mean, men should be doing the moving, right? Doing the, they have to be the active force behind it. Yeah, because I think the real thing that's neglected is because if you look at other societies that have raised themselves up out of bad conditions, what were the things that were successful? What were the techniques? What were the ideologies? What were the movements that actually were able to raise up people from like a deprived scenario into one that was much greater, right? So that's kind of where I come up with the question is, are we in a dark age? Is that what we're dealing with right now?
Okay. So for our viewers who don't necessarily have the insight, what defines a dark age? What is a dark age?
Well, typically it's defined as a collapse of society.
Okay.
Right? It's like, there's many characteristics that are fairly common in a dark age, right? You have, cults everywhere. You got people going away from science towards superstition. You got radical religion. You
Mm-hmm.
got, you know, absolute rule of the fist. You've got, you know, no judges. Really, everyone is a judge. Everyone is an expert.
Okay. Do you feel
N-
okay? So we gotta stop. We gotta slow down because you're
yeah.
saying so much. You're saying so much so quickly.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
saying so much so quickly. But your first point there, when you were talking about when we were talking about what's a dark age, you mentioned the dark age being uh, the cult. What is a cult to you? Because a lot of like today, I have a certain understanding of a cult, but how are you? Because I feel like there's a lot of I guess dog whistle terms that you've used.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe the old or even the new black man doesn't necessarily understand. They've heard those words, but don't necessarily understand. How are you defining those words? So what is the
Um, well, it's funny. I guess cult is kind of a funny one because almost anything can be termed as a cult.
okay.
Almost any group that has an ideology could technically be termed as a cult.
Okay.
But when I'm saying that, I more mean like uh, like organizations that are led by like dogma rather than like um, uh, understanding or um, like natural laws. I would say it. You know what I mean? It's not based on necessarily something being true. It's more based on something being convenient or
Okay.
um, yeah. There's a little bit of there's a connotation of dishonesty in like the professed ideology and then the how it plays out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, I mean, I put a lot of times with the cults, I put them more with the I was gonna say with superstition, but
So do you feel in the black community, is there a good cult to be a part of? Is there a good cult to join or to follow right now?
no, actually, I think we got the opposite. I think um, we've got a whole bunch of different movements um, that kind of have they're romantic. There's sometimes some kind of excitement involved in how they kind of portray themselves and how people take them in,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not. But no, I would definitely not say that. This is if you were asked my opinion, I think we are. If we're not in a dark age, we're definitely heading towards one. If
Heading
if,
towards it. Okay.
if I were to give my own opinion of it, because I actually think that maybe not all of the characteristics are present, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them, but a lot of them are.
Okay. Okay. So my bad. Okay. So let me let you go again. So you talked about Dark Age. We talked about the cult that really stood out for me, and what is the
Yeah.
other things was defining the Dark Age that we're in?
So it's the lack of judges,
The lack of
right,
judges. Okay. So
and the lack of judgment,
okay. So
right.
let's get into that. So what? Okay. So the lack
I'm
of
saying like if you look at how many let's just say black leaders that we have at the moment that are that people may be accusing of like being scammers and this kinds of thing, right? But then everybody seems to still be falling for it,
mm-hmm,
right? It's only after people have been taken for a ride
mm-hmm,
that everybody realizes it. But when the shiny glossy presentation is first presented,
mm-hmm.
there's no ability to discern whether this is something that's for the good or whether this is some bullshit. Hmm.
Okay. So we'll touch. So just for the sake of facilitating or making it easier to have this discussion, uh,
Hmm.
let's talk about the Republicans and Democrats in this example. Okay, so with the lack of judges, um, so we got the Republicans and we got the Democrats. Okay,
Yeah.
so like you mentioned, you have certain leaders that are, your Democratic leaders, or your leaders and people that we support in the Black community, who are allies with the Black community, who are, who consider themselves Democrats. For example, your Al Sharptons of the world. Uh, who else? You have your, oh my gosh, how can I forget the gentleman's name that was on the on the
Jesse.
balcony, Jesse Jackson of the
Mm-mm.
and these people, right? Me personally, I feel like their hands are a little bound with the fact that they've associated themselves with the Democratic Party. So,
Mm-hmm.
how are you truly going to operate in uh, the new black man's best interest, when you are bound by, you know, uh, by funding from a majority of a majority of white investors or white donors, who want their interests served uh, before uh, black people's interests in
Oh
America.
yeah.
Whereas the Republicans, who I feel again have very clearly said, especially with the previous president, Donald Trump's, through all of his actions, that has, in my eyes, have said money talks, you know, BS walks. Um, Having Lil Wayne picture ops with him, Kodak Black picture ops with him,
Mm-hmm.
literally telling black people, hey, this is America. If you make money, you get access to me. If you make money, you get access to the government. This is how it works, right? Whereas, and that's what Donald Trump was saying. To,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I felt I saw from the Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from the Democrats, what I saw was, you know, or what I see is, we want to help you, stand by us, but all the actions have been helping the largest investors.
Yep.
All right. So
That's
is this what you're talking about, where when we're talking about judges, or we're putting our trust into these people,
mm-hmm.
and the government, whether they're Republican or Democrat, just to facilitate this conversation, we'll use two groups, two
Yeah.
parties, and saying, who are the judges, who are the leaders in here, who are these judges, are they in are they operating in the best interest of black people?
No, I think that right now we are not judges for the most part, and we're for the most part don't have the ability necessarily to judge. So we have to defer that to people. So we have to trust other people to do the judging for us. And
Why is that? Why don't we have the ability to judge? We're all we have in the black community, we have geniuses. Why can't we not run it?
because because you can be intelligent without like applying your intelligence to something useful, right? Like I mean, so like the goal should not be to be incorporating yourselves into either one of those parties, because by their very nature they're going to have objectives and goals that are not necessarily going to have anything to do with your goals or your objectives. So the fact that we don't have our own party is part of the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that we even know how to create our own party, and what would that party consist of. I think at the moment, if we did create a party, it would be some sort of a copycat of one of the other ones that are existing now that are generally working against us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So That's kind of what the problem is that we've kind of lost the ability to kind of create it ourselves. So we're dependent on others to create things for us.
Okay, so is that the theme right there? We're depending on others to create for us. Is that the theme of Black people being in a dark age?
Oh yeah. Because that's the thing.
We're constantly waiting for somebody to do for us.
Yeah, because we don't necessarily have the ability to do necessarily for ourselves at the moment, and or maybe even the desire to do stuff for ourselves, and really no exposure to what would be required to do something for ourselves.
So you think so by design, have we not been given the opportunity to have access to the information to build our nation?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. We've been dumbed down, but the funny thing is that because we're not really so big on history, or if we are big on history, we're big on studying our own history, which is useful and great and powerful for like building ourselves up and finding an identity and all that stuff. But what we're missing is like the whole history. So like we're kind of in the dark about how things come to be.
But what are you talking about? The whole history, fam? We went to the same high school. We took history class.
Yeah.
Do I not know everything there is to know about white people? Like,
no, you don't know. You don't know almost anything about what white people really do. Because the funny thing is that I feel that we generally put them all into one box.
Yeah.
And we say that's what they do. And then we don't really consider what their wars are, even when we're not in the picture. Because even without us being in the picture, they have their own battle that's going on.
What are you talking about, man? We're talking about a people that were before 7/11, were like the Moors came to Spain, were like Neanderthals. Like they didn't bathe. Like they didn't, they had no like. They had no hygiene. They were the original, like were they not the original cavemen? Like the stereotypical, stick and pulling the woman by the hair, like having no respect.
But there's one difference that they had, and some people do kind of know this anyway, but there's one difference between them and us, is that people always say that they took this from us, they stole that from us, they learned how to do this, they learned how to clothe themselves, bathe, all this stuff from us. But if you're noticing that, so every time that they see something that's useful, that someone else is doing it, they incorporate it into themselves so much that they pretend that it's their creation. Whereas we, on the other hand, kind of have written off like either the whole thing, or we kind of pick pieces at kind of random. So we end up like choosing to incorporate into ourselves like some of their more evil concepts, but then we don't even really know about any of the noble things that could be useful, because we are still human beings. They are still humans, just like we are still human. So something that would be successful for them would be successful for us, unless we're going to say that we're so different that what's good for the, I won't use that expression, but that what worked for them won't work for us. Like if you're saying what you're saying, like if we're looking at how backwards they're starting out.
Yeah.
But then how is it that they end up in a Renaissance at some point? And there's no denying that when the Renaissance was taking place, all these people who were backwards, a lot worse off than we are, illiterate, almost all illiterate.
Yeah.
But then they found a way to build themselves out of that.
Yeah.
Right? And basically the thing is that what worked for them can work for us. If we can incorporate into ourselves the best ideas that the history of humanity has to offer,
Okay.
and we can start using those, then we can possibly have similar results or better results.
So,
You know?
so am I being like, the questions I'm asking? Am I being a conspiracy theorist? Am I making outlandish, like unfounded points that like saying that they were Neanderthals, saying that they were that they making presumptions, or making statements like they learned, they were civilized by Africa, the continent of Africa, whether or not they were black. Okay, we can
Mhm.
have that conversation, but they
Yeah.
they were civilized by the continent, were they not, of
Well,
Africa?
I think that you're not necessarily wrong when you say that. If you look at like the fall of Egypt, they were using like the foundation of places like Austria, or the those societies that led to the Greek society.
Yes.
All of those societies were, they started out as like mercenaries for like the Egyptian army and stuff like that, right? So a lot of them are colonies of uh, of the Egyptian government or whatever, right? The
Yeah.
ancient Egyptian government. So yes, that the and obviously about all the different philosophers and thinkers of Athens in particular, that went, that studied with, in the craft of Amun Ra or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So we know that there was that transfer of knowledge, that or Solon from Athens, who was the person that really was the first to kind of try to create some sort of a just society. His concepts were all derived from what he experienced when he was in Egypt as well. So yes, it is true that they got a lot from the continent, but then they used it, right?
Right.
And then they made it into their own. But the thing is that there's two sides fighting in their world. There are two sides to them.
Okay.
So there was one side that is more similar to what we want to do, and then there's the side that is dominating us right now, but they're dominating them too, right? So that's the thing. Like, people always think of it as like, that it was the white people that came and conquered us, but those same white people that conquered us had conquered all the other white people before they came to us, right?
What are you talking about?
So like, for example, if you think of
they're Europeans, like that. They're all, aren't they not one? They're all one people. What are you talking about?
No. See, if you look at let's take Venice for an example, the sovereign republic of Venice, right? So they were like the dominant imperial force of their time. They had all the ships. They were dominating everybody. They had a monopoly on trade all through the Mediterranean, right? So that
and now and the Mediterranean. You're talking about the Mediterranean Sea, which has access to the continent of Africa.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Basically the gateway to the Middle East, which is Israel.
Absolutely, through the Black Sea. Yes.
Yeah, the Black Sea, and then you're talking about all of Spain and Greece, and we all know the
Turkey,
Turkey and things. Yeah, Turkey, of course. Yes. Okay.
Lebanon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lost my thought there. So yeah, so that power had been dominating all of the other European powers. So like even if you go before that, like for example, all of the foundations laid for places like France, places like England, all those other places, it's because they were conquered by the Romans, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at them all as Romans, but they're not. We can't really look at them all as Romans, because like it's just they have this one parasitical society that's like swallowed up all of their societies, and then that big mass is what came to swallow us.
Okay, so what you're saying? Okay, so way back when, I'm gonna pull out the Bible. you know, Jesus was crucified at a time where, I'm sorry, you may know better than me. Where was Jesus crucified? In Jerusalem?
Yes.
All right. So at that time, the Romans were ruling Jerusalem. They had control of Jerusalem.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So, as the story goes, the Roman ruler asked the people what they wanted to be done to Jesus. If did they want, and they chose that he be crucified and to let go some barbaric, savage, rapist, monster to the people, and they decided that Jesus would take his place and be crucified. All
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
the Romans, not necessarily the people, but the rulers, that's the group of people
Yeah.
who went and colonized or went to war with and got power of London, England.
Yes. 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 There's a straight line from, ancient times until now where it's like the same little I don't want to call it cabal, but the same like oligarchy group that's like just keeps moving their location, right?
So
They still want to run.
The Roman Empire is the European Empire.
Yeah, when we think about the people that signed the Berlin Conference, the intellectual concept that was governing those guys that eventually came into Africa is the Roman ideology, or Babylonian if you want to go further back than Rome, or Persian if you want to go around the same. Like Persian comes after the Babylonians, but it's that same concept of like it's the alternative to what you had going on in Egypt. Because in Egypt, you have this whole natural law situation where you have, it's the first society, right? So the first societies were only really able to grow. You would get into power because you had some knowledge that gave you some advantage, and then people wanted to follow you, right? So when you get into things like the Babylonians and things like that, they're kind of following in the footsteps of like the rogue, the rogue scholars of Egypt who realized that they could be more powerful than the pharaohs because they were the ones that were running the churches. They were the ones getting the donations. They were the one teaching the pharaoh's children. They were teaching all the rich, all the like wealthy people. So when they decided that they didn't have to necessarily be dependent on any individual society, they just felt like they could be anywhere. They didn't have to be loyal to where they were. They could be actually loyal to two different places, and whoever wins that, you know what I mean? They make the other person pay. So it ended up being more advantageous for them to not necessarily be loyal to any one group, but to kind of play the aloof role and then kind of be the advisors to everyone, right?
Wow, play the aloof role. To me, that's so powerful because I feel like, I know we're talking about the Dark Ages and what it is right now.
Yeah.
But, with, from my again, my opinion, my observation, and you're more than welcome to disagree with me. But there's a huge population, human population, who is being aloof or playing both sides right now in terms of, the well-being of mankind for their own interests. Right? Just playing, just sitting back, letting all the mess happen, and then it clears, then they'll go and pick their, the winning side.
Oh yeah, they don't care what you believe or what you think as long as it's different from the other person.
Wow.
So that's why it gets into a thing where everybody's like, well, I want to be on this side. These guys are the smart guys. Those guys over there are dumb. And then you realize that both sides are always going to be dumb. They're always going to be ignorant but they're going to be exalted or put down. But this, it's a thing, it's a talent, it's a skill that they've been developing for thousands of years. So it's like you're born now, you live like 100 years at best, So that's not really enough time for you to really catch up to what's been happening all this time, right? So that's how they can get you, because everybody thinks they're wise. Like, for example, if you look at what's happening right now with like the COVID situation, that's perfect. This is their mastery at perfectly working, right? They can manipulate it in every single way. They get, you get things like the mandates, right? Which is like a insane thing to do, right? But the mandate is there so that you won't do the thing. So they want everybody to think that.
For example, give me an example of a mandate.
So like so right now, they're trying
to travel. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, or even in Canada, they're forcing people, or in America, they're forcing, like, no matter what your job is, they're saying you have to get the vaccine. But then at the same time, they're saying that like the politicians don't have to get the vaccine, right? Wow. So then somebody that thinks they're smart is going to be going, well, if the politicians don't have to get it, then it must be, you know what I mean? But these people that are doing this, they don't necessarily care if you live or you die.
Why don't they care?
Well, as far as I understand it, whenever you're running this kind of a government where it's like you want to rule by arbitrary law, you don't necessarily want to do what the right thing is, you want to have a small population that you can control. Right? So that you want to have a little group of people that you can control, you can intimidate them, you can bribe them, you can give them sex, you can give them money, you can give them rock and roll, you can give them comfort, which is a big thing that they get with us, with the weed and shit like that. So then they get you to fight for something like that. So we're going to know we want weed everywhere. We want, and we think we're fighting for something that's for us, but they want you to all be smoked out. Because when you're smoked out, you might be like, oh, this situation sucks, but I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable.
Wow. Yo, this is getting very controversial right now. Because people that are watching this, or people who have, been in existence for, since, been born, or, watching and been in a world where marijuana has been legal.
Yeah.
Marijuana. Big foe, like real talk. Marijuana comes from the ground.
Yeah, a lot of things come from the ground.
It's natural.
It is natural.
Why are you like?
I mean, this is coming from someone that
yeah, black people. I'm not. It would be foolish of me to say that the majority of black people, indulge in weed. That's ridiculous for me to say. Nonetheless, culturally, it is something that is very much accepted. In 2021, in the black community, culturally, there's nothing wrong. I feel very confident in saying that there's nothing wrong with the consumption of marijuana in the black community, specifically because this is what this is about, the new black man. And, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about giving the truth and being honest and trying to give the answers of how to be, or what the new black man should be, and what they want, how to move forward in truth and in positivity, for us, by us. But yeah, like you're mentioning, like marijuana is a good thing, right?
I would say if I was an oligarch, if I was Uncle Charlie, King Uncle Charlie, I'd want everybody smoking weed.
Like all black people.
I'd want all black people smoking weed. I would love that. Would be the best thing I could possibly do. If they're all smoking weed, they're not going to be fighting me. And and a lot of people will say different, but I mean, I'm someone that loved smoking weed. I'm one of the ones who probably could give you the best reasons to be able to do it, in terms of like being an artist and like, opening your mind to certain things. Like, I remember even one time I was rolling with you, and we were like, and I had not been smoking or whatever, and I was writing some raps or whatever, and I was like, yo, this I can write without it, right? And then I remember I got home, then I hit a little puff, and then the level of rhyming went way up. So I was like, oh, geez, man, there is something to it. You know what I mean? And people like George Carlin will always tell you he quit smoking, chain smoking all the time, but he would say that whenever he's working on his art, if he takes a little tiny puff at the end, then that always would put his art over the top. But but I think that's weed is something that rich people should be dealing with, and Cat Williams says that thing like, if you ain't got no job, whatever, why are you not smoking weed? I think it's the other way around.
Okay.
If you've already gotten everything that you need and you don't need anything else, then you should be dealing with it. But otherwise, you can't be a soldier and dealing with that. No way, because it's the opposite of like what is required in war. It's not. It's like you're.
Okay, so let me
think about when you train soldiers, you want to deprive them of everything. You make them sleep on the ground, and then, right? So you have to be trained to kind of deal with that. You smoke a joint, you kind of forget, oh, I'll sleep on the ground.
So, and I'm going out on a limb. We came together to kind of get these answers, to get the answers so that the new black man understands what's really going on. Is legalizing marijuana a device to put us in a new dark age?
Oh yeah, 100%. They'll never do anything that's beneficial to you, ever.
Government.
Never. Yeah. Like for example, they did that with Ultimate Fighting. Now this is going to be kind of a strange one to do, and a lot of people are going to hate this, but whatever it is. I remember when that shit first.
The UFC or MMA?
Yeah. I remember when that shit first came out. When I was in Brooklyn, I think I was living at the time, and when Kimbo Slice was doing his thing.
Okay.
And I remember watching those backyard like fights and stuff like that, and I remember being like not liking watching that shit. And everybody was over, and people were cheering. I'm sitting there going like, man, this is not good for us, And then if you look at what's happened since the MMA or whatever has been a thing, and this is a little bit more controversial, but if you look at how people fight now, it used to be like, bam, you knock the person down, then besides like the gang deal where they're trying to always, catch wreck on someone and stomp them out or whatever. But I'm saying generally, like fights didn't go to the ground.
Okay. Whereas
it's like they go to the ground. You gotta get grounded and pounded.
Okay.
So it's just I'm thinking that we're why was it evil to have the battles in the Colosseum of Rome, but it's okay to do like this new version of whatever it is, right?
Okay.
Sports are all of the sports. That's what they are. They're like the concept is that like. One thing that people don't really understand about how the Roman Colosseum worked, it's way more elaborate than just like people fighting each other.
Yo, you're rubbing me the wrong way right now. You're rubbing me the wrong way. Real talk, you're rubbing me the wrong way. You're trying to tell me that all sports is a form or a tool to bring people into the dark age?
100%.
Oh my gosh.
I think that it's actually
talking about like how is curling?
Maybe not curling. That's not really a sport, and nobody watches it.
Wouldn't you say, like, okay, we are right now, the way we're talking, right? We're talking about the new black man. Right now, this is what it's about. It's about the Bredrens. We're talking about the new black man. I get this. And is the new dark age, the people who are controlling this new dark age, if you will, like you mentioned, in the old, dark age, or how a dark age is formulated, is population control.
Mm-hmm.
Is the population,
And manipulation, but control, yes.
Right, manipulation, of course, and control.
You want to control the population so you can manipulate it.
Right. Is there? So there are in the population, they want to control white people too, and they want to control black people, Asian people, all of that, of course, all that, right? That's who they want to control, everybody, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This platform, right, is we want to educate specifically black people, specifically black men. Am I wrong, or?
Yeah, no, you're right. Okay.
So yes, I do diverge and go on a whim when I talk about curling, right? Because I wanted to kind of make a statement, but they're trying to control white people too.
Oh, it was first tested on white people. The first time it happened, that's why I'm saying, like, so
we get back to the Venetians.
So I'll even go further back than Venetians. We'll go right to Rome.
Okay.
So if you look at how the Colosseums were built, Rome was like a brutal empire, right? So it's like they would conquer you and then they'd force you to be part of their society, and it was really like dominating. People were getting, you know what I mean? It was super brutal. It was like, besides like Genghis Khan and the what do you call it? The Mongols and stuff. Besides them, Rome was pretty fucking brutal. Okay. So what they would do is they would stage these fights, right? So the people would dress up like the people. So let's just say you're from this tribe. So when you go to the Colosseum, one of the people in the thing is going to be dressed like you.
Okay.
And then the other person is going to be dressed like the people that came to burn your village.
Wow.
So the part of the things when they're, I can't see the thumbs down. I can't put it on the. There we go. Part of this thing was that you feel like, oh, that's one of those people. Let's fucking kill that guy because they killed my sister or whatever the thing.
Okay, was. So this you're describing WWE right now.
Oh, completely. Or why do you think boxing always lines up on racial lines? Why is it like a black dude versus a white guy is always the biggest fucking fight you can imagine? Why is it such a big deal to have Joshua versus Fury or whatever? Or think about the rhetoric that came out when Mayweather was fighting Conor McGregor.
Right.
It always goes down to that primal thing. Our guy is gonna fuck up their guy, and then because our guy fucks up their guy, we get that same adrenaline rush that we really would have got if we were overtaking them in a war or something like that. So they get you to exercise those demons without you actually having to do anything. So you go to the Colosseum, you see one of your guys kill one of the other guys, so you can go back home and go back to your horrible life. Wow. Right? But if you didn't have the Colosseum to feel that sense of like redeeming yourself, then you would be more likely to rebel or revolt. So the same thing with the football. You got your football team, you get to really live what they're living. If your guy hurts, you hurt. It's like, I remember I used to be so obsessed about it, like if my team is whatever, I'd be all upset because I feel like I'm cheering for them. That's why they lost and blah, 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 even though it's all a TV show, like D Brown was saying. But yeah, that's how they get you is they kind of get you to to exercise your emotions so you kind of won't have to take it out on them.
Okay, so through sport, through the Colosseum. Now, what else did Rome or the Venetians do as a tool to evoke a dark age?
Well, they actually, because they were brutal enough that they were able to control thinking. Because the religions would kind of emphasize that.
The religions.
So at those times it was like a cult, the Temple of Apollo, right? So you would have some virgin woman that would be sitting there, and she'd be sitting by like this big like hole in the ground that had like these gases that would come out of it, and she'd be sitting there sniffing these gases, and then she would say all this bullshit, and then there would be a priest right there, and he would listen to her, and he'd be like, what she's saying is what she meant to say was, just like now they have,
That's what you're describing in 300.
Say that again.
The scene in 300. That's what you're talking about.
I don't remember 300. I don't know.
When oh my gosh, the main character in 300, who was the leader of the Spartans, climbed the mountains to the mystics, and the mystics looked like lepers, and they literally made a young virgin, smell some smoke, and she, just like you did, that whole scene played out. So
yeah.
When you get a chance, that might be something you want to pull and like
as an example,
or use that as a visual. If you do, down the road decide to make this, share this on other platforms, but this is something. This was real. This is like historic. Like they do this. They would listen.
Oh yeah, 100%. So then what? So then
is this an African custom, or is this?
No. This is like a Babylonian tradition.
Okay.
You can call it if you want to tie it to Africa in any way.
Yeah.
The Temple of Amun, or whatever, the cult of the Amun-Ra cult or whatever.
Yeah.
They were not always legitimate, right? If you see every time that the Egyptian society fell apart, the intermediate period, all these different periods that they have where they would split up, it would always be because these guys would take a bunch of power and they would we're the pharaohs now. So then because they're the ones, we're the guys over here that know everything. And if you want to talk to the gods, you got to talk to us, So that whole concept is really what Babylon thrived on. And then Persia later thrived even more on, right? So that's how they were able to control like the Greeks and stuff like that, is because they would have these temples where basically you would have spies. Basically, that's who these guys are. They're spies. So then you come, you're a king, and you want to go kill some other king, right? You're not going to go and just go kill him. You're going to go ask the gods first. So you come to me and you ask me. You tell me, hey, I do this. I want to go do this. What do you think? And I'm just going to listen to you and go, oh, so this is your plan. And the other guy that you're going to fight, maybe he comes to see me too. So that I might tell him what you told me. Or I might lie to you, or I might lie to him. But either way, I'm getting money from either one of you.
Wow.
And the thing is, like, when you come and make your donation, I might give you some bullshit answer just so that you'll give me another donation. That's how it would be. Like, you don't like what they say, you can pay more, and then they'll give you another interpretation. Like, they might say, run away, don't fight these people. And you're like, I can't go back to my people and tell them that. So then you'll come back and you'll give them more, and then they'll say, okay, well, try this. But a lot of times they'd be in cahoots. Like, for example, the Temple of Apollo was always in cahoots with Sparta. And they were always in cahoots with Persia against Athens.
Yeah.
But Athens was like the righteous empire, was the closest thing to could be a righteous empire at that time in those circumstances in that part of the world.
Wow. And why? And okay, we'll get into the details later, because I want to keep it going, because we've unpacked a lot about the judges and with the ability and the desire. Right, we touched on the desire, why we are in the dark age. We talked about what is the dark age, why they're in the dark age. What else did you want to touch about?
Well, why, like, where they come from is they're battling against the truth.
Who is battling? Aren't we all battling against the truth? Don't we all want the truth?
Oh, I'm saying they're battling against the truth. Like, they're fighting the truth. The truth is their worst enemy. They hate the truth. Because if I'm a leader,
old black people, are we talking about old black people hate the truth? Or are we talking about?
Well, I think black people, white black people might as well be white people. because we follow whatever they do anyway.
Hold on, man. We are the original people.
Yeah, but we don't act like original people.
But everything we have done, they have copied, have they not? So why are you telling me that they're the ones?
No, I don't think that's what I'm saying. I'm saying to them that like these, like if you're gonna say the archetype of this Temple of Apollo group, the science people, the people at Oxford, they would be the Temple of Apollo today, right? The think tanks, these are who they are today. So I'm saying those people are against the truth, against it. Like they don't want it. They're going to fight against it.
Okay, so I have a marketing background. Okay, I'm trying to make some sense. I'm trying to understand this. Okay, the business background that I have, I've also taught business subjects. I've studied business. I've taught business. I've been in. So one of the things I realized is that the most important thing about business is being a problem.
Can you repeat yourself? You're starting to cut out a bit.
Okay, so through my business experience, education, and experience, what I understand is that the most important thing, one of the most important things in business, is being a problem solver. Okay. So, and the most resourceful people, like we saw in The Wolf of Wall Street, whatever they have an abundance of, they work almost backwards and create the problem that needs to be solved.
Yes. Okay.
So what I mean by that is, that great scene with Leonardo DiCaprio when he's sitting in the restaurant with his friend with the pen, and he's trying to build salesmen, and he says, "Hey, sell me this pen." All right, and then the guy takes the pen, and he's like, "This pen is nice. It's blue and white. It's got this, and you want to use this pen? Don't you want this pen?" And Leonardo's like, "I give you the pen back," and gives it to his other friend, who's the drug dealer. All right, and he's like, "Hey, sell me the pen," and he's like, "All right." And the drug dealer's like, "Hey, all right, whatever, man. Write your name down." And he's like, "What? I can't. I don't have a pen." Boom. There's your pen. And so he created the problem. Hey, go get straight hair. Everybody in the world mostly has some kind of curl in their hair. We have this thing that does straight hair. Boom. Perm. Here's your pen. Oh, we have an abundance of soybeans. How are we going to push these soybeans? How are we going to sell these soybeans? Oh, we were able to convert this soy into fuel. Oh, this is the foundation to all things health. All things, you want to convert, you want to be healthy person, whatever. Soy-based products, push. Everything that's not soy-based is a problem, right? So they created their own they're creating the problem. So that's what it sounds like. What you're saying is very interesting, that you're making those kinds of points.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely do create a problem, but I don't necessarily give them super credit, because it's more that they just want to be free to do whatever it is that they want, and they don't want to have to deal with like the rules or law or judgment or any of that kind of stuff. They just want to be able to, I want to have your wife, so I'll change the rules so that I can have her, or I'll change the religion so that I can have her. It's not. And they don't want you to have the ability to say, wait a minute, you can't have my wife. That's not correct. So then they change the language a lot of the times. They change a lot of different things so that you can't fight for what for what you want. So their whole thing with the truth is like they want to be able to have they like arbitrary law. That's their thing. They want the law to be what they say, not to be like what, like, for example, they have gods that would say this is true because the God says it's true, not the God says it's true because it's true. That's the difference. Say that again.
So the law would be this is true because God says it's true.
Yeah, not because it is true. So in their rules, God can change his mind. This is right now and it's wrong later.
So they don't want to live in universal law.
They would avoid it for all ways. They want to destroy even the concept of universal law.
Universal law being literally the law of the universe.
Yeah, how the universe actually works. They don't want to deal with how the universe actually works. So in the little part of society that they can control, they want to make their own rules there. And they'll do everything they have to, kill, chop, manipulate, whatever, so that they can keep their little bubble the way they want their little bubble to be, even if it contradicts everything, morality, everything, they're salesmen, like what you were just saying. They're making it up. Like that's what the whole rhetoric is, right? It's like it's like it's the sales pitch. You don't need to sell something when it's true.
Why as a mass, as a population, as people, why are we allowing this to happen? Because they've been successful over long generations. So we don't even really, they've changed our priorities to the point where we don't even realize that we're in a bizarro world. We don't notice that there's something wrong with it, because a lot of the time you're going to agree with some of that stuff, right? So like, for example, we all want to smoke most of it or a little bit of it.
I think we generally prejudice. We all have it, right? Yeah. So if somebody says, if the oligarch says, hey, well, if you want to have 6 wives and treat them all badly, go ahead. If you like that idea, you're going to say, yeah, that's right, because it benefits you, even though it hurts all those women or whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah.
So they're driving for. They want you to be as prejudiced as arbitrary as possible. They want you to just be totally governed by what you feel, They don't want you to think necessarily.
Like think like at all, or think
in that way. Think in terms of natural law. They don't want you to think in terms of like how the universe works and how you should orient yourself in the universe to have the best success.
So when you're talking about how the universe works, are you talking about like you're talking about horoscopes and reading the moon and the scrolls, and like life is written, everything is pre-written and all those things? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking more like there was a time when we didn't know how to when to plant the seeds, when the harvest was going to come, and all these different things. So eventually we had to be like looking up, when this star goes over here, this is the time when we do that. Or when you see the birds come from there, that means the monkeys are coming, or whatever the how the system actually works. Like I listened to Dave Chappelle talking about that thing there where the whatever tribe, when they didn't have water, they would like set a trap for the monkey. So they get these monkeys to they stick something in a hole, and the monkey goes to grab the thing out of the hole, and he grabs it with his fist, but it's not big enough for his fist to come out, only for his hand to come out. So his hand gets stuck, and the monkey goes crazy trying to fucking get his hand out, but he'll stay there until he gets it out. So then they trap the monkey, and then they give him salt to his desire. And then after he's had all that salt, he's thirsty as a motherfucker. So they just let him go, and he'll lead them to the water. So that's like a natural law. The monkey knows where the thing is. If you want to find the water, follow the monkey. That's reality. That's actually how it works, right? Or like, you know, if you plant the seed in this kind of soil, it will grow, and in this kind it won't. You know, if you're going to navigate, like navigation, right? That they were doing that by the stars. They had to actually understand their relationship, the relationship between the stars and themselves, in order to navigate by the sea. So these are like understandings of how the mechanism itself is working, you know? And we wouldn't be able to do things like harvest or any of that kind of stuff, planting. We wouldn't be able to do that unless we knew when to do it.
Right.
So this is the kinds of things that originally the religions were supposed to be ways to remember these things that are so crucial that if we don't have them, we die.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times that would be embodied in like the epic poems, right? Like
what's the solution then to that? What is the Dark Age? And are we entering it, or are we already in it as Black people?
I think as Black people, we are definitely in it.
Okay.
That we, you would have to say that we were in it. We've been in it for 500 years, I think.
Okay.
Because even when they first came to the continent, we were already on our way there. Whether they were there or not, you know, our dealings with our Arab buddies was we were already on the way to, you know, Islam's got a lot of things in it that lead you the same way.
Oh my gosh. So, wow. So is it possible for a simultaneous race Dark Age? So are white people in that Dark Age right now?
Oh, I think they are. Yeah, they definitely are. But the thing is, they've already built their thing. So it will collapse. Absolutely. Their thing is going to collapse. 100% their thing is going to collapse. But we don't necessarily want to collapse with them. But yeah, 100% they're in a Dark Age. The thing is, like, these people are such a small group.
Is Asia in a Dark Age?
They're climbing out. They're further away from one than the rest of us are, in a lot of ways, because they've gone back to things like their philosophy of Confucianism. So they're going back and trying to build like that like they're going to the moon and stuff. That's not those aren't Dark Age traits. Going to the moon and going to space, that's not what you do in a Dark Age. Dark Age is like when you start saying we're going to use windmills and solar panels. That's a Dark Age. Like backwards thinking. Huh?
I thought that was a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing. It's a horrible thing. It's the worst thing you could possibly do.
Wait a minute. Solar energy. Reducing your carbon footprint is the worst thing you could be doing?
I'm not going to say reducing your carbon footprint is the worst thing you can do, because there are other ways to work to reduce your carbon footprint. If that's what you were going to set as your measuring stick, that would be that would not be backwards thinking. Because, for example, those things don't do what you just said. Like a solar panel, they're mostly made of petroleum, aren't they? They're plastic mostly.
Okay.
So there's that. One, and then the other thing is, like, you know, like there's a science experiment you can do where you're trying to make a little tiny light, you know, like a light so small that it could light like maybe something inside your watch, a little tiny light like that, right?
Okay.
You could create that if you take lemons I think it's like 17 of them you take together and you connect them all together, and then you take like a nail and a penny and you connect it. It will light a tiny, 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 tiny light. But if you fill your room with lemons, it doesn't matter how many lemons you get, you're never gonna make something so hot that it's gonna like melt steel or something like that. Okay. There's a cap on it. So that's the same thing with solar panels. There's a cap on the amount of energy that it can provide for you. So like if you live on a farm by yourself somewhere, you got a whole bunch of land that you've got, then yeah, cover your land in solar panels, and you can sell your electricity back to the grid. But even in that scenario, you're going to be screwed for most of the things. You're not going to be able to run your house the way that people run their houses now. You know, you're going to be like having to decide, like, do I want to have hot water or do I want to use my microwave? Like, there's not a lot of energy. And if you were to try to implement putting like solar panel technology as a replacement in like a city, you would kill everyone. Think about trying to run a hospital on solar panels. The guy's cutting your stomach open, and then the lights go off.
What about Nikola Tesla's energy solution?
Again, this is one of those rumors, bud. It's a big rumor that's not real. All of his ideas are in use. We are using his ideas. He doesn't have some secret code somewhere that we're hiding. What we're talking about that he was able to do is radio. So the idea of sending out a signal and then having some other a metal object being able to catch that signal and transmit it in some other way. That's what.
So it wasn't electricity? It wasn't free electricity?
I mean, it's not electricity in the sense that it's like it could power the world kind of thing. That's a little bit far-fetched. His stuff is for radio. Like, radio was an amazing idea. Think about it. Like right now, those waves are flying all through us right now. We can't even see them. But if I have a radio in my hand, I can turn it to a station, and then it will show you that what's in the air.
Yeah.
So we are doing it. We're using his technology. He doesn't have some secret somewhere that we can light up something. That's not a thing. That's part of the brain thing. So we can be crazy. They like us having these heroes like that. It's good for them. It makes us retarded. Yeah, he was a great thinker. Don't get me wrong, but the things that they did evil to him, they did in his life. Like they propagandized against him when he was trying to do certain things. And I think he created the alternating wave current. So I think there is the electricity that we use in the socket, I think, is his kind. Whereas Edison had another one that was the direct current. So the alternating is like, it's more useful. You don't have to be running it all the time.
I see.
But no, Tesla is not, there's no secrets there left in Tesla. There are secrets though, not from him, but there are secrets. If we would be willing to, study if we all become physicists, or we all become engineers, or we all become,
Is that the way of the future?
Yeah.
Research?
Oh yeah. We have to start learning that, instead of thinking that everything is spooky and everything is like some hidden secret with the some guys in a back room doing something. It's with a pencil. It's hard work. And that's the thing. It's not romantic. It's not exciting in the way that people think it is. If we really are going to have this revolution, it's going to be a pencil revolution. We're going to be learning how to do simple things and learning how those things were discovered. And then when you watch a bunch of discoveries, then you're going to be able to make you'll be able to make your own version of one. But you have to understand how they were made. So all the different people, you can't just take some, I got this Einstein formula right here, right? This field theory. So you can't just learn how to how to use a formula. You really want to understand where it's coming from, how it came about, what were the different thinkings that led to it. You know, that's why people should study people like Kepler, because when he discovered his things, he shows you the evolution of his thought. He was like, I thought it was like this, then I tested that, and I learned that wasn't the right way. Then I did this, and then eventually I discovered it was this. And then when you live that with him, it's almost like it was you that did it. It actually has the same effect on your body and brain when you go through someone else's discovery as if you would have created it yourself. So now that's part of your body, that discovery. So then now you can look at other things and you'll be able to make sense of things and create new things. But if you know, if we have the idea that, like, you know, everything has already been found and decided and whatever, then it doesn't really leave us anywhere to go.
Yeah, let's come back for another episode, because we've covered so much. I feel like we still have more to contribute.
Yeah. So we'll be back. We're going to take a little break and come back with you guys.
I've been down this road before, but now I got my shit together. For sepa, for deba.